welcome to this, and this will be an ROH video. I'll talk about Randy Savage on the Over the Limit review, just to kind of keep everything separate, so this video isn't extremely long, and I think more people will watch that video anyways, and probably more fitting to be on that video than this video. But, of course, Randy Savage passed away Friday, and for those of you not aware, and I would imagine most people watching this were probably somewhat aware, Ring of Honor throughout the week had said that they were going to have a fairly large announcement come Saturday before the show. They were going to make an announcement to the talent about something. And then Randy Savage died, and I think everyone was kind of sad, and then there's kind of a lot of speculation on what Ring of Honor was going to announce, and I don't think anyone could have quite guessed what was announced. Basically, what was announced is Ring of Honor was sold. Cary Silkin sold Ring of Honor to Sinclair Group. They own a bunch of stations, or communications group. They own a bunch of TV stations throughout the United States, mainly smaller stations in the United States, in the South and in the Midwest, and that they had sold Ring of Honor he had sold Ring of Honor to them, and in doing so, Ring of Honor will have television, limited television, but they will be back on television. The idea is that they will stick them on the Sinclair stations, and then hopefully later get them syndicated and get them into bigger markets that Sinclair Group is not in. So that is the plan. Everyone was kept, including Cary Silkin. So as far as I know, the only two guys that I don't know if they still have jobs would be Dave Lagana and Sid, if you know who that is. And those are the only two that I would probably be kind of, I wonder. But apparently nothing is going to change as far as how things are run, per se. It's probably going to be the same business model, except you're going to have a multi-million-dollar corporation backed behind them. I don't know much about Sinclair Group. I know there's information out there on the internet about them, but everything I have found seems at least a year to 2 years outdated. So, it's kind of hard for me to judge. And I don't want to say I'm not excited, because I'm excited because Ring of Honor will be on television. If they're not on your television in your area, they're going to apparently redo the website, and they're going to stream they're going to put the TV show on the website, so you won't have to go on YouTube and look for it and have it all cut up, or go find it and download it, or something else. It'll be fairly easy to find for those people on the internet. And there will continually do the internet pay-per-views, apparently. Now, other than that, that's pretty much all anyone really knows. Everyone was pretty much kept. That's like I said. There's only two people I don't know about, but everybody else seems to have kept their jobs, or has some sort of... The product doesn't seem to be changed. The only difference might be that they may bring in some more names, though the names that they kind of are looking for are more of like Haas and Benjamin, people who will fit Ring of Honor, but maybe have been kind of outside Ring of Honor's price range. Apparently, the other plan is to bring back talent. This was talked about in the press release, that they were planning on bringing back talent. Jimmy Jacobs came back last night. Just spoiler, but he came back last night. And who knows who else? I think the fact that Jimmy Jacobs came back is probably a precursor of some other people who might be making their return. My only problem with them bringing back guys, if that's what they're going to do, is, it seems like they're going to have a 1 hour show. If we're going to have a 1 hour show, you don't want to go overboard with the talent. That's the only thing. You don't want to be like TNA, where you have all of these guys. You need to have, maybe 20, 25 guys on your roster, maybe 30 at the most, on your roster, so as to not have so many guys that it does look crowded. I do believe that if you have a crowded roster, it does kind of affect things, but that's just me. So there, that's pretty much all we really know, to be honest. I wish there was more I could say. Like I said, I'm kind of indifferent, because Cary sold it, and he sold it to a big corporation. It's a corporation I don't know a lot about. On top of that, I can only hope that, but the guy that apparently is going to be over Ring of Honor is a guy that worked for WCW. He was a WCW, I guess he was in charge of house shows or something like that. And so that's promising. If they got into the deal with the idea of a long-term plan of saying, okay, we're going to take this company and we're going to try to build it, and them take the company and then try to get it onto a bigger network or a bigger platform, but them still own the rights and them do the show and do all of that. That's a good thing. And apparently the production values are going to get an increase. Apparently that's one of the other things that's going to happen. So that's good. From everything we've been told, it sounds wonderful. It's the stuff that we don't know that kind of has me uneasy, because again, this is a corporation, and you basically, the idea of Cary owning it was always very cool, because you had one guy owning it. You didn't have like these people owning it, this corporation like WCW was. And so there's benefits to that. There's huge benefits to having a corporation own you, and then there's drawbacks, and there's some huge drawbacks to that as well. So it's good in a lot of ways, and I'm not gonna lie about that. But this is probably at some point I'll probably be able to talk about it later. There hasn't been a lot of in-depth reporting on this yet, so it's kind of hard to judge it. I'll just be honest. I think Pro Wrestling Insider has talked somewhat about it more than everybody else, but everyone's kind of mum about it, and I'm thinking that there's probably a lot of, okay, what's going on type thing. Apparently there's going to be some sort of press conference sometime in June, I can't remember now off the top of my head, where in New York, where they're going to truly announce this, and they've invited all the wrestling media to join them. All of, I guess, 5 sites that would probably be there, but we don't know. They may put on some big show, and that might be cool. But interesting stuff. And like I said, I am excited, but I'm also very reserved about it, because I don't know kind of what's going on. And this is a good point to bring up. Dinosaur Avenger brought up the fact that he really didn't understand how U.S. television kind of works. Basically, for those of you outside the U.S., this is how U.S. television works. You've got your big three networks, and that is ABC, NBC, and CBS. Those are the networks that have been around pretty much forever. They are the big networks, and then you have, after them, you have Fox. And then Fox would be the next one after that. And those are the broadcast networks. Those are the ones you don't have to have cable to get. Not owned by the government. I know, a lot of countries, the government kind of owns the stations, and then you got 4 of the same stations. It's really not like that. They're all independent entities of each other, and very different from each other. So there's that. Then you have what used to be called UWF stations, which were like the local stations, which is what the Sinclair Group owns. They own a lot of the local stations, which is what the CW network is, the My Network stuff, and including a lot of the Fox networks kind of fall into that. That's why they're not really part of the big 3, but they're not really. They're the 4th, but it's kind of like a weird 4th. And I'm not doing a really good job of explaining it, because even the local CBS, ABC, NBC stuff, they're locally run too. But pretty much you've got 3 big networks. Then you have Fox, and then you have all these other little networks, and that's pretty much where Ring of Honor is going to be in the United States. Now, they do plan on syndicating the show outside the United States. They do plan on syndicating the show at some point, trying to get it into New York and Chicago and all of the markets that Sinclair Group does not have a station in. So again, there's lots of stuff to be excited about, but there's a lot of stuff we don't know, and I'm not when I don't know something, that I'm kind of uneasy about it. I'm one of those type of people. I like to kind of have a good grasp of things, at least in my mind. And it's exciting, and I've heard from fairly reliable sources that this is a much bigger deal than even any of us really understand, which is saying something. And if Sinclair Group really wants to get behind this, I mean, they've got the money. They particularly when you look at what the lower tier TNA guys make, that probably would be a really good fit into Ring of Honor. that are somewhat names. They definitely be making more money and Ring of Honor, and having somewhat exposure. When you get to WWE, you know, depending on how much money Sinclair wants to go, I mean, the low tier, you know, the low tier guys in WWE are still making, you know, 6 figures. So, are they willing to pay guys that much? Maybe they are. Are we going to see Sinclair Group pony up and we actually have, you know, health benefits and some of the things that WCW kind of, the industry saw, you know, that WCW could do that really never really came about, or they weren't wrestling people, so they went about things in a way that ended up kind of hurting the product. But you have a bunch of wrestling guys there, and you have a bunch of guys that probably learned from the WCW mistake, and so can offer a lot of things WCW did, except do it in a way where, i.e. guaranteed contracts, so that guys are still willing to go out there and bust their ass and try to get a paycheck, basically. But I've rambled about that long enough. Let's talk about a show. Let's talk about something else, because, of course, we had Supercard of Honor this past weekend, or yesterday as I'm making the show, and just came out, fairly new, and I think this probably took a little longer than it should have to come out, particularly given what happened on the show. And that's Manhattan Mayhem 4. I really, and this is going to be me griping a little bit about Ring of Honor, this really they needed to try to get this out as fast as possible. And maybe they were, and even if they were, maybe this is something that we'll see change now, where we'll get this stuff out faster. But this needed to be out, in my opinion, WrestleMania weekend. Whatever they needed to do, they needed to get this out then. I say that because of what happened on the show, and I think that would have been a perfect time to do it and really capitalize on everything that happened, because by the time this show came out, and spoiler, and if you're watching this, you probably already know what happened. This is the show that Eddie Edwards won the title on. You know, when you string out and you take, you know, a month to 2 months for a show to come out, you know, it loses its momentum. It loses all the stuff that people wanted to see on this show. There was stuff that I forgot was on this show. So, because of that. So, there we go. Let's get started with the stuff. So, our opening match was Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly taking on Michael Elgin and Mike Mondo. This was a good match. My only really problem with this is that ending, as was kind of the case with a lot of these matches, the ending was kind of eh. Mike Mondo, I actually thought Mike Mondo did pretty well for himself. I know the fans were like just shitting on him, but that's unfortunate because, you know, he actually went out there and actually did, I think, a pretty good job, and is a guy that, not saying I think he should be a star in Ring of Honor, but I definitely think could be in Ring of Honor, so there's that. Cole and O'Reilly did their stuff and looked really good. Michael Elgin looked really, really good in this match, and just a good match. Then we had Grizzly Redwood taking on Ciampa with the Embassy, and this was okay. It went on far too long. Princess Mia Doe did a running drop kick in heels that was freaking amazing. I'm not gonna lie. It was like a highlight of this match. And yeah, I mean, this match could have been really, really good, and it still would have been a highlight of this match. It was that good. It was good stuff. This is probably the worst match on the show. This was kind of there. Like I said, it went too long, to be honest. It's kind of weird, because this went too long, and another match didn't go long enough, so we'll talk about that. Then we had Steve Corino taking on Mike Bennett. This segment went long. Now, Steve Corino and Mike Bennett on the mic are very, very good together when they're on the mic. When the match started, I didn't think I was going to like this very much, and I actually was really, really, really digging this match. Up until, I think, it went a little too long, and then the ending again was kind of to be honest. But still, I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it served its purpose. I thought the fact that I like this gimmick that Corino's doing. I really do. This is the first time I've really gotten to see it. So this was really, really a lot of fun. And yeah. Then we got J and Mark Briscoe taking on the All Night Express. This would have been a great match if it wasn't for the ending. Or I shouldn't say that. Because the ending of this was pretty damn good. I shouldn't say because of the ending. But just it kind of came out of the match went kind of too long, I guess is the best way to put it. And it was just missing. It was missing something. It was definitely not your crazy, you can definitely tell Jim Cornette's kind of booking the tag team stuff, because the tag team matches aren't these crazy things they used to be. They actually have some structure to them. And this was a very old school, okay, go out there, have a great match, and we're going to start a feud. That's pretty much what they did. And I love this. I thought this was really good. The ending was a flash pin that worked and was great. And in the concept of a Briscoe's match, it was awesome. This, of course, is also the start of the Briscoe All Night Express feud, which, is something to see. So that pretty much makes this, a really good DVD to get right there, because that's been a really good feud so far. So there we go. Then we got El Generico versus TJ Perkins. This match did not go very long. And they started off, it was kind of weird, because they started off like shaking hands and being friendly, and then it kind of got really stiff. And they started like doing like really wacky things to each other. But again, it didn't go very long, and in some ways I think I'm underrating this match, but the match didn't go long at all. And the end of the match was just, oh my god. It was like, El Generico, do you hate TJ Perkins? I mean, really, it was just, wow. But they went out there, they did their thing. I don't know if maybe something went too long and they needed to, like, shave some time off here. But they went out, had a really good match for as short as it was. But, there you go. Then we had the Kings of Wrestling versus Homicide and Hernandez. This made me forget how much I miss LAX. Oh my god. When they announced this, I thought, it'll probably be a good match. This was damn great if it wasn't for the ending. This match definitely wasn't for the ending. I didn't like the ending of this match. But they did some crazy stuff. Hernandez put one of the things that I just was like, oh my god. Hernandez put Claudio in a standing suplex, and they must have sat there for a minute. And this was after Claudio had put Hernandez in a standing suplex for probably a good 10 to 20 seconds, and then Hernandez put Claudio in one. And I'm serious, it probably was a good 40 seconds to a minute. They just standing there, and it was awesome. It was awesome. We got a bunch of awesome spots. Claudio also did the UFO on Hernandez, which was pretty impressive. There was a Hernandez border tossed Homicide onto the Kings of Wrestling. This was just really, really, really good. I wouldn't say it was quite great, because I didn't like the ending. The ending was kind of like, wow, that's the ending of this match. But there we go. Then we had Christopher Daniels versus Davey Richards. Pure Wrestling Rules. You don't know what Pure Wrestling Rules are. Pure Wrestling. Ring of Honor, once many moons ago, had a secondary title called the Pure Wrestling Belt, or the Pure Belt. And what it is, it's under Pure Rules, which is you get 3 rope breaks. After 3 rope breaks, your opponent can, if he pins you, you can't be saved by the ropes. If he does a submission to you, the ropes can't save you. And your opponent then can use the ropes to their advantage, and can use the ropes to their advantage. Each opponent gets 3 rope breaks. If you use a closed fist and the ref sees you, then you lose a rope break. So there we go. And I love these matches. We haven't seen one of these in forever. And I think they said Claudio versus Chris Hero, which probably sounds about right. We haven't seen one of these in forever. And I love these matches. This, I would have said, was great if it wasn't for the end, which Davey Richards screwed up. But still, I mean, they did a pretty good job of salvaging it. But still, just kind of and left a bad taste in my mouth. But there you go. Then we had Roderick Strong versus Eddie Edwards. And this match, this is one of those matches where the crowd was not into it, but you could tell the crowd wasn't into it, because they were like, okay, can we kind of just get to the end of this, because there's no way Eddie's going to win. Of course, Eddie won. So at the end, the crowd went apeshit. The ending was a little like, I was kind of like, huh? When the ending came. But it kind of made sense. They were doing some reversals and that much. But overall, it was a great match, and it was a great moment. And that's one of the things that I think people kind of, very rarely do we get moments. And this definitely had a moment. This was a moment. This was really, really cool. Davey came out after the match, and they kind of did this thing, and they had to stare down, and you were kind of like, oh, what's going to go on? And then he hugs Eddie, and they celebrate, and things to come, so to speak. So overall, I thought this was just an excellent show, mainly because you had a moment on it, and I think that's something that we miss. Also, you get the start of the All Night Express and J. Mark Briscoe, or the Briscoes, feud, which I thought was really, really good. Also, Kings of Wrestling versus LAX, I thought was really, 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 really good. There's a lot of like really good stuff, and there's probably people on there that probably might actually think I'm underrating some of this. But you had 3 matches that, you know, I gave 3, I don't usually talk about this, but 3 3/4. 3. And that's pretty damn good. And then I gave the main event 4.5. So, yeah, that's saying something. Really, the only 2 matches that were Redwood and Ciampa, and that's the only, and then the Corino versus Mike Bennett. And I think Corino Mike Bennett would have been fine on this if it hadn't gone so long, if the match itself hadn't gone so long, because I actually was digging the match, but Redwood Ciampa match, that could have been gone, and you could replace it with something else, but that's really the only throwaway match on here, I think. And Corino Bennett stuff is more of a storyline sort of thing, which I can kind of forgive, because it wasn't on the top, and it didn't really hurt the show that much, but everything else on here was good to great, and just a fun, wonderful show. New York crowd wasn't necessarily as horrible as sometimes they can be, though some of the stuff at the start of the Briscoes versus the All Night Express match were like, are you serious? Are we, what? And, other than that, just good stuff, and I definitely would say this is a must-own show. I really would. I think that just the moment of Eddie Edwards winning the title, I think that's a pretty big moment and a pretty big thing. So, yes, I'm going to give this a 9, because I think it's that good of a show. I really think that as a show, it is a great, fabulous show. So, there we go. So, with that, I will probably see most of you later after Over the Limit, which probably won't be this good. So,